I strongly feel that, I'm gonna be real with y'all. Black women, I love us, but we got some real baggage. We do. Peace and blessings, everybody. It's your girl, Melissa Renee, with BellaMinded.com. And we're here with another episode of Her Mind is Beautiful. And by the time y'all see this, it's probably going to be the new year, 2025. So I just want to tell everybody happy new year. Since number-wise in this realm or dimension wise, I guess, I don't know. Happy New Year's, y'all. We're not gonna get too technical and too deep with it, okay? We're not gonna do that. And of course, it's a new episode of Her Mind is Beautiful. I know y'all like, girl, a different background again. Where you gonna be at? Well, I'm gonna be here. I had to find my groove, y'all. I had to find my setup. We're gonna be chilling just like this. Just give y'all a little scenic view of my sunroom. Still my sunroom, just a different, perspective. I love different perspectives. I want to shout out all y'all out there who have been, try to use some type of grammar come on, Melissa. So I want to thank everybody out there for watching your girl, supporting your girl on Her Mind is Beautiful episodes of my podcast. I want to thank y'all so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate the engagement. I appreciate the views. So I'm so grateful. Thank you all. Thank you to the Most High. I appreciate it. And we're going to delve into... Before I get into that, let me say this. I have been just doing episodes of Her Mind is Beautiful. I really didn't have a sense of what purpose or what I was driven to do. I always knew that, but I had a purpose in some shape or form to delve into the wellness of us as a people, our well-being, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. I always knew that. I didn't know how to center it and what my focus should have been at. And my focus has been like kind of everywhere, talking about everything. And I get that to an audience and to viewers and to people watching, it could just seem like it's all over the place. Even though you may enjoy the content, it just seems everywhere. And it was seeming like that to me. So I took time out to actually I said, you know what, I'm gonna just put the content out and whatever strikes the audience as well as me that I can speak profoundly or passionate about, then that's where I will veer my content. So I have been getting great reactions or response, I should say, to me speaking on us collectively as Black women and our relationships with one another and friendships and all of that good stuff. So I want to expound on that because I strongly feel that, I'm gonna be real, Black women, I love us, but we got some real baggage. We do. Even though I'm being funny, we have some real baggage as Black women, and we don't want to acknowledge it, and we want to continue to point the fingers at everybody else and avoid doing the due diligence and the work with ourselves. And it's becoming very problematic. Just being in certain spaces and different spaces with us as Black women. And we can't get along, or it has to be some type of division, animosity, jealousy, shutting down, or hostility and tension in just simple conversations or interaction among us, whether it be on the internet or whether it be in person. And it's just a problem. Like, I just don't like to see us that way. And I feel like we have been doing a disservice to ourselves by wanting to look at all the problems outside of the collective of Black women and not look within ourselves and look within our collective to see that there is a problem. But maybe we need to start with working on ourselves as a Black woman first individually and as a collective of Black women. We need to uphold a sisterhood. We cannot talk about empowerment and empowering Black women if we aren't leading by example in doing those things. And it starts with us individually, as well as how we nurture the relationships we have with other Black women outside of us, whether it be our mother, whether it be our grandmother, our aunts, our sisters, our cousins, our friends, our co-workers, whoever it may be. And I know some of y'all gonna be mad and try to chop my head off because we've been conditioned, and I don't even think it's a condition thing. I think we've been so on the defense of having to defend ourselves due to a level of systemic racism, due to a level of prejudice and discrimination and microaggressions and being disenfranchised and trying to keep us oppressed. We've allowed those things around us to affect us as individuals and collectively to become very guarded, very defensive, very hostile, very argumentative, just all the things that create this wall that we can't even break down now with one another. You know, at one point in time, we would look at like how the men treat us, how this society treat us. This is what we have to go through. This is what we have to deal with. And we would come together and vent and be the support system for one another due to those sequence of events. But now it's getting to a point where we can't even come together and be the vent and the support system and the accountability partner that we may have once had due to the fact that we're so guarded. Now we're guarded with one another. And now it's to a point where we have to do something about this. We have to do something about this. You don't want to become the very people or the very characteristics and the traits that we've been complaining about. And we're sitting here being that. We're turning into the so-called villains that we've been victimized by. So it starts with us. We have to start holding ourselves and one another accountable. And me, how I feel, man, we mean, man. We're mean, we're hostile, and I'm not saying we're mean and hostile all the time, every time, but it's too many of us out here, too many of us as Black women with ill experiences among a group of Black women. It's too many. It's too many topics, it's too many posts on social media where we are speaking about feeling isolated, going to a brunch and it's the mean girls, having fellowshipping or building a bond with a friendship and it's the mean girl, it's the jealousy, it's the hidden competition, it's the feeling threatened, it's the insecurities that's continuously popping up all over the place. And it's like, now we got to do the work. we have to do the work. We have to hold one another accountable, and we have to do the work, because before you know it, we're not going to like the people we see next. We're not going to like the people that we see. We're not going to like what we pass down to the next generation or to the next group of young girls growing up to be women. So something has to start. Like, we gotta start doing something now, because it's just outright, to me, it's just outright ugly. It's just outright just why. It should never be a situation where we can't be online having a conversation, knowing how to agree to disagree without being defensive. And I get it, Black women. I'm not putting the blame necessarily to say, oh, we horrible people, this, that, and the third. Like, I understand to an extent where it stems from. Because when you feel like you've had to put up this wall or this barrier, or have to be the person that has to defend and protect yourself all the time, yes, you get stuck in that mode. And now you can't even recognize when someone's there to support and to help, and not just other Black women, but you can't even see when it's a Black man trying to be supportive in their way, trying to help in their way. And as soon as it doesn't look like or sound like, soon as it triggers you, as soon as you're triggered and it sounds like something, that trauma that happened to you before, soon as it represents something in your past, boom. Now you're projecting that onto whoever it is. And we have to stop. We talk about the Karens. Well, we about to be the Karens. That's what we're going to be if we don't start putting in the work, holding each other accountable, being supportive, being nurturing, just loving on one another, and figuring it out without having to be so on guard. If I'm making sense, if this is making sense. What would be the Black version of a Karen? I want to say Keisha. I want to say we about to be the Keishas to the Karens. Because why we calling them Karens, they calling us something. What they calling us? Keisha, Jaquisha, Quisha, Quinetta. They're trying to call us something like that. And that's what we are about to be. If we want to get rid of the notion, and not even with them, but if we want to get over the triggering feeling of being the angry Black woman, or the ghetto Black woman, or the whatever Black woman, whatever stigmas and stereotypes that they attach to Black women, if we want to get over that, we have to confront it. Where did that come from? How did we allow that to be the triggering thing for us to then actually feed into it? Make that something that we kind of harbor and hold on to and have resentment for. Like, for instance, with Andrew Schultz, yes, that was messed up. What he said, I didn't appreciate what he said, and tried to create somehow in a passive aggressive way the stereotype, not create, but try to perpetuate the stereotype of the angry Black woman. However, the way we respond to it, if we're gonna respond in an aggressive, angry way, we're just feeding and helping to perpetuate the stereotype. It's a way that we can still be assertive, be confident, be no nonsense, without having to fall into those stereotypes of being angry. We want to say we're not the angry Black women, but when I'm looking at comments online, like ready to, oh, I said what I said, and this, that, and the third, and we're ready to be on the defense and be combative with one another. Well, we're doing exactly what we're trying to fight against. You see what I'm saying? So with all that being said, I am taking the time to center and speak on these things as it relates to us as Black women and how we engage and interact and build bonds and foundations with one another as Black women. No, we're not all gonna like each other. That's just reality. But just because we may not like each other or may not be fond of one another, it's still a way that we can conduct ourselves with one another. It's still something. You may not like someone or fond of someone, or someone isn't your cup of tea, doesn't mean it's not something you can take away from that person. And it doesn't mean it's something that person can't take away from you as far as gaining a level of perspective. And a lot of times, to be quite honest with you, when we dislike one another, a lot of times it's because it's a projection of what we don't like within ourselves. Either they're showing us something that we feel that we lack, or they're showing us something that they're showing us who we are and we don't like it. We see it from the outside and we don't like it. Or we're seeing something that we don't have, and it frustrates us because we don't know how to get it, or we don't know how to maintain it, or we don't know where to start. So I said all of that to get into this real quick. So I went on live on TikTok. Hey girlies out there on TikTok. I went on live on TikTok and was talking to beautiful, beautiful Black women. Okay, and we had a nice conversation, and we were talking once again about the dynamics of friendship in Black women, and it's a lot of hurt Black women who are hurt by other Black women. And the funny thing about it is that you will hear conversations a lot about Black women and the hurt they may have from a Black man. But the way I hear a lot of Black women talk about the hurt that they have from another Black woman, it sounds very stigmatizing. Like it sounds like it sticks, like it's gut-wrenching, to the point where you have Black women saying, oh, that's why I don't hang out with Black women. That's why I hang out with guys. Or that's why I stay to myself. The trust is gone. And it's so sad and hurtful to hear and see. And I feel like we have to find a way to either rebuild a strong foundation or build a strong foundation to create a sisterhood where we can effectively communicate with one another, we can support one another, we can love on one another in a way where we can kind of build this trust back up. We can see the commonality in one another, even if we not necessarily each other's cup of tea. It's a commonality that we could still, I can still sit down with you, and it's something we can share with one another that we have in common, to the point that maybe I could actually sit down and see your perspective, even though it's different from mine, even though it might not be a way that I maneuver or live, but I can sit back and see that perspective of you to get an insight of who you are, an understanding, and not judge you for it, but just simply observe. Because now I look at you, since we've had that commonality, since I've seen that thing we have in common, now you're an extension of me. And if I can see you as an extension of me, that means that I can see me in you. And if I can see me in you, that means that I have a whole different type of regard when it comes to you. I won't be so quick to go off on you, or be so quick-tempered, or lash out, or shut down, or, take it personal. I can find a way to walk my emotions through being vulnerable with you. We talk about how men should be vulnerable to us, but we don't talk about the lack of vulnerability that we have in these circles with our sisters. The lack of vulnerability to not be open enough to say, when I sit with you, or when I see you, or I don't know, when you come around, I feel intimidated. I don't know why. Because she can sit there and say, well, why is that? And we can have a real conversation when she says, well, why? Why do you feel that way? What do I do? What have I done? And I can then unpack that to say, I don't know. It's like, I just look at you and it just seems like your life is together, and you know this and you know that, and it makes me feel like maybe I don't have my life together. And in that moment, that woman, that sister can look at you and say, what? When I look at you, I see this, I see that. Because genuinely, that's how I am. When I see another Black woman, I see her. I'm not making it up. I'm not saying it just for shits and giggles. When I see you and I say, oh, you're beautiful. Oh my gosh, I love your creativity. Oh, I love the way you did that. I love the fact that you're confident. I love the fact that you own who you are. I love the fact that you move to your own beat. When I'm saying this is because I see something. And I'm inspired and impressed. So I'm going to say it. I don't care if you done started 500 businesses. I can sit there and say, she might start 500 businesses, but baby, you don't stop. You don't quit. Now we might need to kind of, if we can help one another, maybe, figure out what it is while you hop. But it's the fact that you do it. Because I might be sitting over here like I ain't did one yet. And you want 500. Whatever the case may be, it's just to say that we are here for one another. We can be here for one another. We can be what we need in regards to having a support system with one another. Because yes, if you have your man, your significant other, you should be expressing and telling them how you feel. You should have that communication with them as well. But sometimes as women, like I say, I'm not gonna lie, we get emotional. And we have to be able to have a collective, a tribe, a community, a circle who can see that, who can say, sis, you being emotional. Sis, I understand, he did this, that, and the third. And yes, that's wrong. However, instead of confronting it this way, confront it this way. Instead of jumping ship, let's think about the results of that before we do it. Let's see if there's other alternatives, other avenues we can venture in. That's what we're supposed to be with one another. The same way we're supposed to celebrate one another and be there for your wedding, for your baby shower, for your promotion, for your business grand opening, for your launch, for your fashion show, whatever. The same way we there to celebrate that is the same way we need to be there and be accepting when one of us has to say, You know you did too much. You know you kind of was out of line. You know that man love you, and you know you love that man. You know you don't need to be doing that, because if he did it to you, you wouldn't like that. That's what we need to be. You know she ain't mean it like that. Whatever the case may be. So with that though, I was like, maybe we need to start somewhere figuring it out. And I'm working on something, okay, in the background. I'm working on something, so I might have a little something bonus for y'all. Just stay tuned. But within having that conversation and having this little thing I want to have eventually come to fruition, I realized, I said, just like I said in the last episode, well, I don't know if it'll be the last episode, but in the episodes previously where, it was episode 3, and it's talked about lead by example. And I think it was like, are women worse at friendships, at maintaining friendships? In that episode, I talked about how a lot of us can't be what we need to be for one another because we were never taught. We didn't know. We didn't have the best examples. The people around us, the women before us probably did the best that they could do, which led us to do the best that we could do with what we knew. So a lot of us aren't the best or great with maintaining friendships or just a healthy, balanced relationship with one another because we don't know. We don't understand. We didn't have anybody, not all of us, but some of us. So with that being said, we have to start somewhere. And what I said was, we have to start somewhere. So maybe we need to start at archetypes, right? And I said that. I told the lady, I said, I'm going to do an episode breaking down archetypes, because for us to establish and understand how to maneuver and engage and navigate with other Black women, you got to kind of find and understand who you are and what kind of friend you are within the circle, within the collective. And once you kind of understand that, meaning you understand your strengths and you understand your weaknesses, and the weaknesses is very important because once you get an idea of your weaknesses, then you can see where you may need to shift things. And when you see your strengths, you can see what you provide and how you can be there. You can understand what your value is, your worth is, and what you bring into that network of friends, of women. So those things are important because even through this, me talking about this, yes, I'm going to speak a lot about us individually and the works that we need to do with one another, because at the end of the day, and I'm going to go into this was I read a beautiful article, which I'm going to get into, and she put it so eloquently about how, yes, the first thing we have to do in order to sustain and create a strong foundation with one another as Black women, we have to know how to be a friend to ourselves first. Like, do y'all see the parallel or the parallelism? Is that a word? Do y'all see that when it comes to friendships and a romantic relationship? Because even in a romantic relationship, you can't enter in a relationship with someone if you don't love yourself. It's no way you're going to be able to give to that person, pour into that person, because you haven't poured into yourself. So you're going to come in there very empty, trying to give probably the little that you have left and wondering why this whole relationship is like a shit show. It's the same thing with a friendship. How are you going to go in and be a friend to somebody if you don't know how to be a friend to yourself? Just how? Now, hold on for 1 minute, because I'm about to really get into it. So let me go ahead and light my candle. And while I'm lighting my candle, let me ask y'all a question. Have you subscribed to my channel yet? Have you? Because if you got to this point, that means you saw something. You've connected with something. Something in your spirit resonated. So go ahead and click that subscribe and that notification bell, okay? And while you at it, if you would like, this is Sunbathe, by the way. It is from Bella Minded Apothecary. So if you want to purchase you a candle, 4 ounce right now, I have them for $8. No, this is Fresh Start, my bad. Go ahead and head over there, because it's a whole experience. Elevating moods is what we doing. Always. Now, back to what I'm speaking on. And this was a beautiful article. It's on the site BethanyWebster.com by Bethany Webster. Excuse me. And the article is called Manifesting the Divine Feminine Through Our Female Friendships. Y'all should go check it out. I enjoyed the article because it hit on a lot of things and a lot of aspects that we tend to overlook and avoid when it comes to friendships. So I want y'all to definitely go check it out. I'm not going to read the whole article, but I do want to hit some key points in the article. So one of the quotes I liked out of the article is, we tend to repress them meaning emotions, and they go underground and come out in destructive ways. So often the taboo on negative emotions causes us to walk away from each other rather than to reach out to one another. So basically, like I said before, the foundation starts with us. The foundation starts with us. And when I spoke on before, I don't know which episode, but I spoke on about how we don't have effective communication as Black women in regards to one another. We will shut down, we will go talk to it and gossip about it to other women or somebody else, but we won't speak about it to one another. And I believe that's why she was like, because we will repress them, then they come out in destructive ways. And the destructive way might be, we might go and start gossiping, or we shutting down, or we are throwing shots and, shots at one another, avoiding one another, like all of those things. And all because we don't want to confront or deal with the negative emotions. And I said this before, when I was doing a reading, and I pulled up the anger card. And in that reading, I was speaking on how a lot of times we try to suppress our anger, or we look at anger as a bad thing or a negative thing. But anger is just another emotion, no different than being sad, happy, excited, nervous. It's an emotion. And it's not an emotion for you to want to suppress. It's not an emotion for you to want to look at in a negative way, but it's just an emotion. And it's not the anger that's the problem. It's how we connect with the emotion of anger, how we project the emotion of anger, and how we deal with anger. that's more concerning and more of a problem if you don't deal with it in a healthy way. If you don't if you're projecting it and doing all of these unhealthy things because you're angry about something instead of acknowledging, I'm angry. So when I spoke earlier and said, if it's a certain female that comes around, or if it's a woman that comes around, and you get this feeling about this woman, have that conversation. Have it with yourself first. Like, why do I feel this way? Because sometimes it could be you. And if you've had that talk with yourself, if you've tried to unpack it and don't get and not get an understanding, then go to that woman. Go to that woman to try to unpack that. Now, I'm not saying that in that case, while you going to that woman to unpack that means that you gonna get the answers you're looking for. That might not be the case. I explained that before to a young lady to say, listen, you can go to someone seeking closure, seeking this, seeking all of the things that you're trying to get from that, but you don't get to control if that person does that for you or not. The closure starts with us. So you should already have in your mind, like, listen, I'm going to confront her with this. I'm going to have a conversation with her with this. I have to be okay and accepting if she doesn't embrace the conversation, if she is uncomfortable in the conversation, if she doesn't take to the conversation well. I have to be okay with that and know that, listen, at least I was able to have enough confidence by confronting her and telling her how I felt, because I'm being authentic, I'm being honest, open, real, like y'all like to say. At least I can walk away saying that. Listen, I was open, I was real, I was transparent. I came to you woman to woman to express these things with you. If you are not ready and you shut down and you don't want to have that conversation, I mean, I can only do my part. I can't do yours too. So I just give a summary, but I want y'all to read it for yourself. The summary of the article is just basically speaking on how, as much as we love to talk about as women, oh, my femininity, soft life, that's a whole nother discussion. But a lot of us aren't able to have that divine femininity or balance that femininity because we are either too we're imbalanced because it's too much femininity, which the too much femininity, I've said this before, comes with the insecurity, comes with neediness, clinginess, comes with just that type of thing, that type of feel. And not enough comes with the fact that you don't know how to be vulnerable. When you don't have enough femininity, you tap more into the masculine. That means that you don't know how to be vulnerable. You don't know how to be nurturing. You don't know how to be supportive. You lack confidence. You're going to be jealous. You're going to be threatened. That's when you don't have enough. And what she's basically saying in this article is, when you actually lean into those uncomfortable conversations and lean into confronting and unpacking those negative emotions, it's actually helping you create a foundation or balancing your femininity. And when you have a balance in your divine femininity, then you can show up and be a better friend in that circle or in that friendship with the other woman. So she says, our ability to have healthy bonds with other women is directly related to our ability to form a healthy bond within ourselves. So a lot of times why we find ourselves in friendships where it's jealousy, where it's competition, and someone's feeling threatened and all of those things, it's because it don't really have anything to do with one another. Because we like to take things personally. That's why I say we be emotional as women. We like to take things personally. So when we see this other woman, and she's lashing out at us, maybe being shady, maybe have little smart things to say, we're taking it personal, like, oh, she doesn't like me, she doesn't like this about me, she be starting with me. No, she don't like herself, and it's something that she sees in you that she either lacks and it's causing her to react that way, or something she sees in you that reminds her of herself that she does not like, and she's projecting it onto you. A lot of times the issues that people have with one another, the dislike, the whatever, it's because it is a projection. It's our insecurity being projected onto someone else. That's why I say we are an extension of one another. I used to read the Wayne D. Dyer books, and he talk about the one, right? It wasn't called the one, but basically saying that once we start looking at each other like that, we are an extension of one another, and stop trying to separate or divide one another, is when we will find the harmony and the balance with one another. Because yes, you are an individual. You are an individual, but we are also a representation, a reflection, and an extension of ourselves. So if you are wondering why you're attracting certain people, why you attract this type of man, why you attract these type of friends, it's because that's a reflection of you. Whether it's a reflection of who you are, your state of mind, where you are presently, or it's a reflection of what you lack. It's a reflection of you. Basically, treat yourself. Be the friend to yourself that you want people to be to you. And that's going to as well project. But when you project that has more of a balanced, healthy, positive. That's a more balanced, healthy, positive projection. You're going to attract that back. So that means that if I go around here as a woman, of course, as a woman, who else I'm gonna be? What else I'm gonna be? Anyway, that just simply means that me, for instance, I give an example. I realized two things. At one point, I spoke my mind and I said how I felt about things, but my tact was off, and it was an underlining judgment there. I was being judgmental in that sense. And once I understood that, I veered it back, but then I went from one extreme to the next. I went from being overly opinionated, judgmental, saying how I felt, to because I didn't like the fact that people felt like, she got this to say, this to that. So I'm like, okay, well, I don't like that. I want people to be able to. So then I fell back, and I filtered and watched the way I say things. But then I became more docile, more closed mouth. I didn't say as much anymore. I held a lot of stuff in. And to be honest with you, I actually held things then back when I was being opinionated. And that's why I'm saying projection. Because when it came to how somebody treated me, I couldn't speak and say anything, but I could speak and tell you how you shouldn't allow somebody to treat you this way. You shouldn't deal with that. You shouldn't be doing this. You see what I'm saying? And all it was a projection. All it was a projection. I was just projecting my own insecurities of what I lacked and what I couldn't do for myself and projecting it onto my friends. So now I done felt all the way back, and I'm not even speaking up for myself, and I'm not even saying what I used to say in regards to what they should do. Which now people full-fledged just maneuvering how they choose to, because I don't have no boundaries. Now I hadn't set any boundaries whatsoever. But now I'm at the stage 555, grateful to the Most High. When I worked on myself, I start understanding and I start working on myself. It's like now I told myself, oh no, like moving forward, if I can't be open and honest with you, if I can't be transparent about my feelings and emotions, my intentions. And when I say feelings and emotions, I mean even expressing my adoration and my love. Because let's be clear, it's a lot of Black women out there who are uncomfortable with expressing love to one another. We act like men out here too, like, oh, she knows she my dog. How you know if you ain't tell her? Sometimes you gotta reach out. Girl, I love you. Girl, I'm proud of you. I love how far you've come. I love how you've done this. I love how you've beaten the odds. We don't do that. So now I'm in a space where that's how I treat myself. I'm honest with me. I'm real with myself. Just was riding down the street and was getting upset with the truck in front of me, and I was like, girl, get some patience. You around here getting road rage because you ain't got no patience. You ain't got nowhere to go and nowhere to be. Have some patience. Sometimes you got to be real with yourself and tell yourself what you need to hear. And that's the way I'm maneuvering with treating me. And guess what? Going forward, that's how I'm going to be with women that come into my life. I'm going to tell you the truth. Now, I'm not going to beat you over the head with it. I'm not going to try to force it and jam it down your mouth. But I'm not going to keep my mouth closed. That's never going to happen again. So if you're looking for someone who's going to be an amen corner, if you're looking for someone who's not going to tell you the truth, not going to say too much to you because I don't want you to, that's not me. Because the friendship I'm trying to form, the friendships that I'm trying to establish and nurture going forward is being able to say how I feel. To be my authentic self. I'm not going to repress that for anybody. So if I can't tell you the truth and that's a problem, you shut down, you stop talking to me, or you play victim like I hurt you, or you get mad and aggressive. If that's the way you're going to feel, then you just going to have to walk away from me because you're going to keep feeling that. I'm not gonna be like, oh, she cried the last time, child. She had a whole meltdown. I ain't finna say nothing to her. Nope. I'm not gonna be like, oh, child, the last time I said something, she ain't talked to me for a whole week, child. She shut down on me. I ain't finna say nothing. Nope. This is where I am right now. And guess what? By me maneuvering and navigating that way, I'm going to attract like-minded women. I'm going to attract women the same way. And guess what that means for me? That means that the same way I want to show up as my authentic self and express myself authentically without having to be persecuted or punished or mistreated because you don't like it. It's the same way I have to be open and ready for the truth to come to me and ready to be open for someone else to be their authentic self. So she said this other part in here. It says this trust is developed by demonstrating to yourself that you will not abandon yourself the way that you have been abandoned by others. She said, our outer relationships with other women are critical to creating the inner bond because the outer relationships represent new opportunities to heal the wounds of the past, which helps strengthen, well, not strengthen, balance your femininity, making, not creating, but transforming you or growing you or healing you into divine feminine or being the divine feminine. It's helping us to transform and be a better woman because a lot of times we are triggered by some type of action they've done. It's a trigger for something in our past. So like I say, in regards to me, a lot of things, issues that I had or took place in regards to other women in my life, in regards to friendships, were triggers due to me having mommy issues. That's the truth of the matter. Me having mommy issues. Me feeling like I can't express myself to my mom or be open to my mom because, you know, she's not that receptive. That's just the reality. I love my mom, but the truth is the truth, right? So because of that, that's how I interacted with other women. It's an intersectionality in a sense, like the way you deal with, and I said this with Lead by Example on episode 3. It's like your influences of how you are brought up in regards to women in your life is heavily engulfed in how you interact with other women as you grow up in your day-to-day life. So a lot of times the issues that we have with one another are triggers from somewhere else. Projection, extension, we are a projection because we are an extension of one another. So a lot of things I can see that's an issue for me in regards to other Black women is because it was an issue and a trigger and a trauma that I experienced growing up in regards to my own mother. So if you have a friend and she has a controlling problem, control. She feels like she has to control the friend circle. She got to be the one who leads. She got to be the one who put the stuff together. She want to do it all by herself. Don't take that personally. That's probably an extension, trigger, or a red flag that comes from her upbringing. And in that moment, if you see it, you could ask about it, like, how was your mom, or how did you grow up, or, et cetera, et cetera. But if it becomes an issue for you, if you see this and you like, oh, why she always got to feel like she got to do everything? She don't let nobody do nothing. But clearly, that's a trigger for you, because where the other friends might be like, I mean, it ain't a big deal. Yeah, it does read control issues, but I'm not mad at it. It ain't a big deal for me. But if it's a big deal for you and it triggers you, instead of falling back or talking about it with other people or being mad, like, unpack that and realize that, well, this triggers me. Her control issues triggers me. And then you might realize, oh shoot, the control issues trigger me because I've been living a life where people have been trying to control me my whole life. My mom been trying to control me. My grandma been trying to control me. My auntie been trying to control me. Like, everything I do, how I do it, somebody's always telling me this, that, and the third. And once you unpack that, then you can go to your good sis and say, can I talk to you for a minute? Like, sis, I appreciate the fact that you like to take initiative. But you know what? Like, I have some say-so too. It's things that I want to do. It's events or activities or stuff that I want to actually be the front runner on, or put my idea in, or give my say-so, give my little piece into it. And it kind of bothers me that you don't allow that. And it triggers me because I grew up in a household where that very thing would happen to me. I could never have a say so or input, and I was always told I had to go with whatever was said. And yeah, I don't. That bothers me. That triggers me. I don't like that. And she could very well look at that and be like, "Oh, I didn't even realize that. I didn't even realize that I was always doing everything. I didn't even think about it like that." And that may open up some childhood healing for her, some inner wounded child feelings for her. Just understand that when we avoid these conflicts, or when we avoid these things that trigger us, that our friends may present, when we avoid these things, we are avoiding our own healing within. We are avoiding the work, the shadow work that we need to be doing for ourselves, when we don't want to acknowledge, and we want to avoid, and we want to shut down. And she spoke on this. Oh, let me finish though. It says transformation is more likely if we can approach a conflict with another woman consciously aware of the wound that has been triggered. And she said, so stress consciously. Don't go confronting somebody like, oh, you just so controlling. No, you need to be aware that that bothers you and it triggers you. And why does it bother and trigger you so much? See, because it don't bother and trigger me. Like, I'm somebody too, like, that don't bother and trigger me. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Now, what does bother me that probably triggers me is when you have a whole itinerary and you want me to be like, I gotta do this, or first we gotta go here, first we gotta go there. Like, that triggers me. If I'm supposed to be out here having a good time, that triggers me. And maybe it triggers me because I'm a free-spirited person. I like to have fun. I don't like to be constricted. I don't like somebody telling me how I should have fun. Like, I don't like that. So I probably would be having to be like, listen, I don't mind, you having the little things we can go do and all that kind of stuff. I appreciate that, sis. But I do mind if you come at me a certain way if I don't want to do certain things. I do mind that. And that triggers me because I've had similar experience in the past where I had to be controlled in that fashion, and I don't like it. Sorry, I don't. Now, maybe we could come to a group like, well, like when you do the itinerary, child, I'm good. I'm not going to go to the trip. Or understand that, you know what, I have an itinerary here. Who want to come can come. Who doesn't have to. Like, it's all good. So definitely be conscious of the triggers. Be conscious of that this thing triggers you. Even if they're wrong, they could be dead wrong with what they're doing, but you still have to be conscious and aware that that's something that triggers you. Because you could be dead wrong. Somebody can be wrong is something in their actions. It don't necessarily have to trigger you to where it just like, it makes you upset or makes you feel a way or provokes some type of negative emotion. But you can say like, yeah, that's wrong, but it won't trigger you. So if it triggers you, you need to be consciously aware that this triggers you before you go wanting to confront the situation, because it's just going to be a hunky-dory mess. A hunky-dory mess. You approach the conflict with the woman consciously aware of the wound that has been triggered and our genuine desire for connection with the other woman. So not only are you going to be consciously aware when you go, consciously aware of what triggers you, so you can have that conversation, so you can tell her where it's coming from. Because we'll be good to be like, well, why are you so mad about that? What's the big deal? But if you're consciously aware of that trigger, you can say, yeah, that I don't like that because of this. Not only do you come with the understanding and you're conscious and aware of what triggered you to feel how you feel and causes conflict, you also have a desire to have a connection with this woman. Do you want the friendship? Do you want to be friends with this person? Because that's very important. If you don't want to be friends with this person anymore, if you okay with letting it go, it's no need to necessarily confront anything. Because what are you getting from that? It's kind of like when people say, "Oh yeah, I'm leaving social media." Well, leave. You don't gotta make an announcement. If you gonna leave, we gonna know you gone. We'll see it. We'll see you not posting. We'll realize that you've left. Unless you only saying it because you want people to miss your presence. Like you want people to know you're going because you're looking for some type of reaction or maybe some outside validation. So you telling that friend like, I don't want to be friends with you no more, but I just wanted to come and tell you this before I stop being friends with you. For what? So what, she can sit there and be like, dang, like you ain't even give me an opportunity to correct the situation. You just like, so you gonna just throw all of this on me, telling me how horrible of a friend I am, and then I don't want to be your friend. Just end the friendship. So, but if you do have a genuine connection and you really want to have and sustain this friendship, then confront that and speak on that, because that's going to unlock a level with yourself. That's going to unlock a level with her, and that's going to unlock an level with your friendship. So yes, I felt like that was very key and important when she said that. And she also went in to say, if we can hold the tension of both, that means the tension of the wound of the past and the love for the other woman. So if we can hold the tension of both without giving into a polarized view, meaning like I can hold the tension of the fact that your controlling issues feel like my controlling mother. But I love you though. And I want this friendship because there's so many other qualities about you that I love and that I genuinely want to be a part of your life, without having the viewpoint of, you so controlling, you a B, you this, you think you all that, you think you run everybody, you don't run no, like that's the polarized view. And that's what we do a lot of times. We do that a lot of times. She thinks she'll know it all. She thinks she know everything. That's the polarized view. See, we so engulfed in the trauma and the trigger of what she's doing and being a victim and feel like we have to vindicate ourselves some way, that we lose sight of the fact that you genuinely love this woman in front of you. You genuinely love y'all friendship. You genuinely want to have and sustain this friendship. But when you get lost on, she wrong, you wrong for that, and I'm right. When you get lost in that, you're going to lose sight of the quality of person she is and the quality of friendship y'all have or can have. So it says, then it is possible for a new depth of consciousness to be born within us. So I'll read this real quick and then I'm going to wrap it up because I want y'all to read it. I had a conflict with a friend in which I perceived she was feeling threatened by me. So that was her conflict. She felt like her friend was feeling threatened by her, which reminded me of a similar pattern I had experienced with my mother. That's her being consciously aware of the trigger. So the conflict is, my friend I feel is threatened by me, and the trigger that I'm aware of, what her being threatened by me triggers is my mom and how my mom used to deal with me. Seeing the opportunity, I respectfully confronted her on what I was observing in the relationship. And mind you, she said relationship. So she said she saw it, so she used that opportunity to not only confront her about her being threatened, but that allows me to confront past issues in triggers and traumas that I have about my mother. So I respectfully confronted her on what I was observing in the relationship, while conscious of the fact that this was happening on multiple levels. I knew I was confronting the current situation and also speaking the words I've never had the chance to speak to my own mother. So that's what she meant by multiple levels. So I'm experiencing this on multiple levels. This is the past, this is the present, and the future. The past, because I'm not only confronting you as my friend, but I'm confronting these past triggers and traumas of how my mom treated me because she was threatened to me. Present, because I'm speaking to my friend presently about the same issues that I had with my mother in the past. In future, this is me talking to my mother. Okay, it says, I was also conscious of my love for this woman and the desire to come to a deeper understanding. So she didn't come into this like, oh, I'm about to tell her, wait, because when I talk, I'm about to check her. I'm about to check her. I'm about to tell her what it is. Like, that's not having, you know what I'm saying? You're losing sight of the love you have for this friend. If you have this love for this friend, because maybe you don't. Maybe you really don't have the love for this friend. Maybe your intentions of this friendship, maybe it's not really riddled in the fact that you look at this woman and you have love for her and appreciation for her, but maybe it's something else. So because she had love for this woman, she could come with a level head. She could come with transparency, openness, honestness, a way to express her feelings and still have a level of regard for her friend because she knows that she loves her friend. It turned out to be one of the most healing experiences of my life because I had the courage to speak my truth. And she responded in an authentic way, a way in which she fully owned the truth of her feelings. Both her challenge of feeling threatened and her genuine love for me. Because two things can be true. You can love somebody and feel threatened by them because you're jealous. Even for those who out there like, I'd rather be around men because, women come with this, that, and the third. And I understand that, but at the same time, that's not a way to be. Because we do need that feminine energy. We do need that sisterhood. We do need that collective because you are me and I am you. We are a reflection and an extension of one another. I can see you and you can see me. And when we cut that off, we cut off our ability to be able to grow, heal, and transform as women. The last quote I say that she did, it says, move toward the charged situation, not with the intention to relive the past, but to rewrite it. So, like I said, she confronted the past, the present, and the future all at the same time. And she rewrote the past because, and I say it's future because because she's here, which means the past, her past self had to heal from her mother in that situation in the future through the means of a friendship with another woman. So that woman was not only just a friend, but a representation of her mom. It says triggers can be viewed as exciting opportunities to transform. So instead of us, when we're triggered by something, like somebody, like if you're having a conversation with your friend and let's use politics for example. Y'all having a conversation. You Democrat, you vote for Kamala. And she said, well, I'm not voting for Kamala. I'm voting for this. And it's just triggering you and you getting mad and y'all having a conversation and you start getting snippy, snipey and all that kind of stuff. Like you're triggered. You're triggered because honestly speaking, and I know people love to say, no, because if you vote for Trump, this, that, and the third. No, that does not. That's us being emotional once again. You cannot sum up who somebody is based off of who they chose to vote for. I'm sorry. I know we love to do that, and because it's easy. It's easy for us to just try to place people in categories based off of one thing than to actually unpack and see the layers of people. We don't want to do that. So if you are getting upset and you're having this type of animosity or tension with your friend because she said, I don't want to vote for Kamala, and it makes you feel away, that's something within you. Now you need to unpack, why does this trigger me? Why does her not wanting to vote for Kamala make me feel this way? To somebody that I love and I have this friendship with, why is it making me feel this way? Why does it make me so mad? Unpack that and then have that conversation with her. Because when you confront that trigger and you unpack it and you have that conversation, you don't know how that conversation is going to go. You may not even understand it. Like, why does this trigger me? But when you sit down and have this conversation, I say it like this: as long as you know that you're triggered, you might not in that moment be able to unpack why you're triggered. So let me take that back. You might not be able to do that. But as long as you know this triggered me, sit down and have that conversation. And don't sit down having a conversation with the expectation that somehow you're supposed to be coddled. Don't come in there thinking that she's supposed to be like, oh, okay, that triggered you. Okay, well, I'll vote for Kamala. Because that's your ego. Well, that's your inflated ego. Because we all have an ego. There's nothing wrong with having an ego. That's your inflated ego. You're expecting her to somehow make you feel better by saying, well, oh, you're right. I see the error of my ways. I'm going to vote for Kamala. That's not her. That you're not allowing her to be an individual. You're not allowing her to be who she is and feel the way she wants to feel. Don't come in there to say, oh, well, I won't talk about no politics with you no more because it triggers you. No. Come in there like, I don't know why I'm triggered by this, but I love this girl. I know she's not going to have the ill intent and do anything maliciously to hurt me. So let me have this conversation to understand, like, why this triggered me so. And in that conversation, you may find out, like, why it triggers you. As we consciously make different choices than we did in the past, we literally transform our lives and the possibilities before us. Life is always presenting us with these opportunities. Oh, here is that situation again. That's some red flags. That's what your triggers are, though. Your triggers are your red flags. I don't know why we've came to this mindset or philosophy of feeling like if something triggers you, then people should know your triggers, and like people should have to fall back and know how to like walk on eggshells or walk around like it's mines in the ground around your triggers. No, you're supposed to be able to understand, unpack, and try to find some growth and healing through your triggers. It's not for the world to walk around here walking on eggshells about your triggers. If that's the case, we all gonna be not being able to say things because everybody got triggers. Each and every last one of us has triggers. And if If the world can't walk around my triggers and tiptoe around my triggers, then you are no exception. Nobody has to walk around and tiptoe around your triggers. It is our responsibility to unpack and understand and heal and grow from our triggers. So every time a trigger comes for you, it's a red flag. It's not to say, oh, this is the trigger. No, it's to say, hey, when you gonna talk about me? When you gonna unpack me? When you gonna deal with me? Because I ain't going nowhere. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. And some of y'all triggers is being right. I know that used to be one of my triggers, honey. One of my triggers used to be like, I used to want to be right. Because my trigger was, if I couldn't be right, that means it spoke on my inadequacies or me not being of value. Until I had to understand, like, me being wrong don't change anything about who I am and my self-worth and my value. Okay? Nothing at all. I could be wrong and I'm going to be like, oh, now if I'm wrong, I'm like, oh shit, okay. Yeah, I was wrong, you was right. That's what's up. You know, like, okay. Not even on no, oh, you got me. No, like, oh, okay. Like, I understand now. I've gained perspective. I've gained clarity now. Okay, cool. So it says, I invite you not to see the reoccurring pattern as a failure, but rather as a brand new chance to rewire your brain, or shift, I like to say, to address the wound and therefore change the future. This is the alchemy of awakening living. And I don't know if y'all heard me talk about being a spiritual alchemist. I think I spoke about that on the first episode of Her Mind is Beautiful. And we all are spiritual alchemists if we tap in. We all have the ability to shift and evolve and change. I say all of that to just kind of delve into the importance of not trying to run away or avoid or hide from knowing how to deal with one another in regards of conflict, of tension. And maybe once we get the realization or the understanding that if a tension or a conflict arise, maybe that's a telltale sign to say that's a trigger. And you're being triggered right now. And maybe that is your subconscious. Maybe that's your subconscious saying, hey, hey. I definitely think it is important for us to have a sisterhood. And I don't like the fact that it's too many triggers popping up in conversations among us as Black women. Too many of us are lashing out at one another and online, whether it's face to face, and it's like this can't. It's like I say, we gonna be the Black Karens, whatever y'all want to call that. Y'all put in the comments what would just for shits and giggles in the comments, what would a Black Karen name be? I want to know. Y'all tell me, okay? But also, also I want y'all to be to just comment below and tell me like some triggers you have in regards to your friendships. Comment below and also tell me, how do you navigate, or do you come to find that it is hard to have like conversations and deep conversations, or just conversations that's talking about different perspectives and lifestyles with other Black women? Do you find that it turns up to be like tension, hostility, an argument? Do you find that a lot in these cases, whether it's online or whether it's in person? Let me know and put that in the comments, because I'm going to make it my mission that we are going to find a level ground, and we're going to know how to love on one another and navigate with one another without all of the extra stuff that just clouds everything and get in our way. And like I said, I strongly believe when we are able to set a precedent and a foundation of how we deal with one another, I feel like everyone else outside of us will fall in line. I just feel it. Okay, maybe it's wishful thinking, maybe it's true. Who knows? But anyways, thank y'all for joining me with another Her Mind is Beautiful. I love you all. Peace and blessings.